Hello and welcome to the Zelda Board Podcast. This is your host, spigelwii, and with me tonight are HextupleyooDOT.
Howdy.
And hailing from merry old Britain, we have Mr. Chris.
Hello, everyone.
Chris, it is 2:31 a.m. in England right now, and he is with us because he loves us.
Oh, I do.
Talk a little bit more. We don't have enough British accents on this show.
I don't have the best accent, but it'll do.
Okay, yeah, I agree. It'll do. Last episode, we had Twilight Prince on, and his voice graced us for almost an hour. I don't think we're going to go quite that long this time. But we do have quite a bit to get to, so let's just jump in. But first, I guess right before we do that, I do want to apologize to everyone who has been expecting or anticipating a new Zelda Board podcast. For the past couple of weeks, we have all suddenly, miraculously, obtained lives. Hex has been everywhere, from the Philippines to Atlanta, promoting his new game. I don't know if he was promoting his new game in the Philippines, but he definitely was in Atlanta. And why don't you tell us a little bit about that game, Hex? I've been meaning to get you to talk about that on this show, and I love the idea, so I want you to talk about it.
Yeah, sure. So the game is called Hunger Crunch, and it's a game developed by a nonprofit organization that partners with 52 different orphanages in 8 different countries. And any of the proceeds from the in-app purchases in that game go towards feeding orphans. So, yeah, that's kind of cool. I've been doing art for that for the past year and a half, I think it's been. So,
wow. Yeah,
it's been a long time, but finally launching, and we are excited and scared.
And what is the release date for this game?
The release date is like yesterday. Like,
oh, really?
It's,
it came out yesterday?
It's super out. It's so out.
I did not even know.
No, it wasn't actually yesterday. It was we launched it at the conference in Atlanta.
I didn't even know. Okay. Well, that shows how much I know. But I will definitely be playing that for sure.
Very cool.
Because I think it's a really cool idea, and it helps orphans, and it's a game, and I don't know. I just can't think of anything better. Playing games for charity, like that's what I want to do. The only thing better is if they paid me to do it. So
yeah, if you want to play it, it's on iOS. Just search for Hunger Crunch, or you can go to hungercrunch.com to play an online version of the game.
Okay, cool. So let's go ahead and move on here. We wanted to talk a little bit about things that have happened on the Zelda board the past couple of weeks, because obviously it's been a while since we've done this. So this was actually a feature I've wanted to get in to the show, talk about just Zelda board news. Obviously, it's been a little slower past couple weeks because people have just been really busy. The Zelda Board Book Club is back and better than ever. We are playing The Wind Waker, which is a game that is a little bit less vanilla than Ocarina of Time, and that's sort of the perception that I've gotten from talking to people. So if you're not yet into the Zelda Board Book Club, go ahead, just go in the thread and sign up with just by posting, and just get playing. We just finished Windfall Island. We're on Dragon Roost, and this week's section is going to be going to the Forest Haven. So you guys, my co-hosts, know firsthand how much fun the book club is, talking Zelda games with other people. So if you're into that sort of thing, definitely head over to the IGN Zelda board and join in the fun with the book club.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I love the enthusiasm from you guys. I just want like a minute-long monologue about the book club. And just,
I have an excuse. It's 2:30.
Okay, fine. But you're probably not too tired to talk about any number of the threads that you've created, Chris. So go ahead. What's your favorite thread you've made in the past couple of weeks?
Oh man, that is a hard question. Actually, no, I have an answer. The favorite one I've made is the one about the favorite views, because I don't know. A lot of people got talking and showing pictures in that one, so that was good. That was
a good thread. Who made the one about the say something Zelda related from like the word, the last letter of the word?
Oh, that was mine.
That was yours. I thought that was great. That was a great.
It got locked and shit.
It shouldn't have. It was on topic. It's Zelda related.
Oh, Dig derailed that to hell. So.
This is why, Dr. Evil Genius, for those of you who don't know, mostly just posts and threads to ruin them. So This is why I'm never going to be a mod, by the way, because I call out people and I also like encourage useless threads on the Zelda board. Okay, so let's move on a little bit. We don't have any more Zelda board news. It's just been kind of slow. So, we could talk about all the Hyrule Warriors, like the influx of Hyrule Warrior stuff lately. That's been really interesting to see people's reactions to that game. There's a great thread on the main page right now. Hyrule Warriors impressions created by Legend of Midna. Got quite a few responses in there. Go in there, talk about what you think about Hyrule Warriors. And I don't know, Chris. I know you have not played Hyrule Warriors. Hex, how much have you gotten into that game?
I've played a good bit. My brother and I have been playing co-op on the.
How is that?
It's pretty good. I enjoy it. I'm tolerant of playing on the gamepad, so I don't. I know there's some people who don't like having to play on the gamepad. Some people would prefer having split screen, but it's fine for me. It's kind of funny that the second player is kind of an extra person who's not necessarily part of the plot, so they can be whoever they want. So if you pick somebody who's in that particular scenario, you have like two impas running around, which is kind of funny.
Oh, that's weird.
Yeah, it's cool. It's dumb, but it's cool, and I like it. I've been enjoying it. It's really repetitive, but it's fun. I enjoy it. It's like a really high budget fan game.
I can't help but love fan service, and like I've talked about this endlessly, but I love Zelda fan service in games like that because it's one of my favorite franchises. So I love seeing when developers will put that much time and attention into focusing on just bringing a bunch of nostalgia from one franchise. And of course, Smash Brothers is well known for doing that as well. And I think it'd be a great time to talk about our impressions of Smash Brothers 3DS.
Oh man.
How about that for a segue? That was a work of art right there. So obviously, Smash Brothers 3DS came out last week on the 3rd. In fact, exactly 1 week from the day we are recording this podcast. It was released in Europe and in the United States. Japan, of course, has had it for a while, so we already knew all the secrets. We're not going to be talking spoilers. Not really. I mean, maybe some minor stuff. But most of you probably have all the characters by now anyway, so we're just going to go ahead and dive in. What is your guys' impressions with the game?
I like it a lot. I think it's particularly fun to watch people play, like compared to Brawl, which is really boring, and Melee, which is really predictable. Like, people do the same things. The tactics have been really stale for a while. Right. So it's nice to be able to see people doing all sorts of fun things. The characters are super varied. I enjoy all the characters. I haven't really picked a main yet, so I've been enjoying Pac-Man particularly. He's fun, despite being just a circle.
I will agree with you on that. I think Pac-Man is awesome. I don't think he's going to be my main because, Jigglypuff for life, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
But I've had a lot of fun playing, particularly Smash Run. I know, Hex, you were playing a lot of that recently. Smash Run, right?
Yeah, I actually just recently finished Smash Run in first place with all characters.
Oh, I'm not even halfway there yet.
So, yeah, got that challenge.
Nice. Chris, what do you think? What's your favorite mode, favorite character?
Ooh, well, I like too many characters in this game, so I don't have a favorite. I mean, I could just say Falco, but no.
Yeah.
I usually find myself playing the For Glory 1v1 mode the most.
Oh, yeah.
Because I'm totally elite hardcore, and that's just the way I find Smash the most fun, actually. And this game does it really well, I have to say. Really good.
One thing I will say, since we're talking about online, is I've actually been really surprised at. I mean, there's lag. There's lag there. Like, you can't deny that. But yeah. I'm surprised at how little I feel like it affects the gameplay. I feel like even though there's some lag, I still feel like I'm in control of what I'm doing. I don't feel like too many inputs are lost. So it's still it's playable for sure.
I don't know. I've had really flawless connections, and then I've also just had horrendous connections. So.
Yeah, it seems to be on either side.
That's sort of the pitfalls of playing with people online who don't necessarily have good internet. Like, obviously we have good internet, right? Because Chris, you and I can play, and it's not very laggy at all. But some random dude, I mean, he could be playing dial-up for all I know. With how I played a match the other night, it was just terrible. But
yeah, playing with you guys been pretty good, I have to say. So
yeah,
there was this one moment where I was playing Psy, and I think some of us, I don't know if you guys were there, but a couple other people were watching. They had already died, and it was just me and Psy, and I was Pac-Man. I don't remember who he was, but it decided to do that bit where it starts like super lagging and it has the loady spinny thing in the corner, and I was in the middle of my Pac-Man Final Smash, and it lasted 5 minutes. It was the most ridiculous bullet time Final Smash ever. It was so dumb.
Oh, that was great.
Yeah, I was gonna say something, but now I can't remember what it was about regarding the online. Oh yeah, if anyone listening to this podcast, if you ever want to play anyone on the Zelda board, just head into the off-topic thread. That's all we ever talk about in there anymore is Smash and a bunch of other like ridiculous things, but Smash
and trying to get tops.
Yeah, absolutely, and trying to get tops, which as of this recording, we are about 3 posts away from tops. So hopefully, someone doesn't steal it from me while we're. I am once again making that push for the tops whore this year in the Triforce Awards, which incidentally, Triforce Awards are run by Mr. Chris. So if you have,
I did the last one, so.
So you're essentially the host because I'm not going to pick up the duties for that. So.
I'll just talk to Nahazadu and stuff.
Yeah, classic. Okay, so let's go ahead and we're gonna take a quick break, and when we come back, we're gonna hear a little bit about Mr. Chris and himself and his favorite games and stuff, and we're gonna jump into our main topic. So we'll see you back in just a couple minutes. And welcome back to the Zelda Board Podcast. What you just heard was the wonderful song Supersonic Racing from Sonic R, classically terrible game, and with even more terrible music. And we'll get to that a little bit later. But first, we're going to talk about Mr. Chris, our lovely guest host from merry old England. Mr. Chris?
All right. Well, I'm Chris. And, I suppose I'll say my favourite game, which is no surprise, which is Star Fox 64.
That is a surprise.
It's called over here.
Majora's Mask
over
is
here
better.
It's called Lilac Wars, but I just call it Star Fox 64. And that's a fantastic game. Go play it right now if you haven't already. And what have I been playing recently? Apart from Wind Waker, the book club, I've still been playing Ocarina of Time for the last book club, actually.
Plug.
You're so behind.
Yeah, so actually that's all I've been playing recently, to be honest.
I got a question for you. You said that they called it Lilac Wars over there?
Yeah.
I honestly did not know that. I thought it was Star Fox Everywhere.
No, when Star Fox Adventures came out, they got the trademark for it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's really interesting.
But more about me, I guess. I do carpentry at college. That's fun. I play a bit of guitar. Can you play some Zelda tunes on guitar?
We're going to have you play the Gerudo Valley theme at the end of this, so I hope you've been practicing.
Oh, God. Actually, I was playing it earlier. I was playing the Smash version, which is awesome, by the way. But yeah, I'm a nice guy. I post on IGN because it's good. And the Zelda board is my favourite.
He is the nicest guy.
I love how
he even gave himself the award in last year's
You just label
Triforce
yourself the nice guy. You don't let other people tell you.
Yeah. Hi, I'm Chris. I'm the nice guy. And I'm Spiegel, and I am the mean jerk.
Oh, goodness.
Okay, next topic.
Okay, we're gonna move on. Okay, so the reason that you guys were just had your ears, I was gonna say graced, but graced isn't really the proper word in this situation. I guess wrecked would be appropriate. The reason you guys had your ears wrecked by supersonic racing was because we are going to talk about yearly or annual, I guess, iterations of franchises, and whether we feel that they are necessarily a good or bad thing, or somewhat, uh, I guess, somewhat indifferent or irrelevant. Whether it makes a difference, I guess, if a franchise is annualized. Um, so I have a list of franchises that I was going to read that are essentially annualized. You get one release per year. I mean, and arguments can be made how much changes from iteration to iteration. But I'm just going to read the franchises. We have Call of Duty. Basically, you get one every year. Madden. Any sports game really, but Madden was the first one that came to my mind. We have Pokemon, which, whether you believe it or not, pretty much one major release every single year. We have Assassin's Creed, which is also pretty much getting one game a year. And the last franchise was Sonic, which also pretty much sees a new game every single year. And I guess and we can talk Nintendo all we want on this show. Obviously, Nintendo does not have a lot of annualized franchises. If you want to count Mario, I suppose you can. Mario is really more of, I mean, you don't get
so many spin-off games.
Yeah,
so.
you don't get a new Super Mario every year. You'll get like a Mario Party or a Paper Mario. I mean, realistically, those are different games.
Very different.
And you get one Mario Kart per gen, and you get one Smash per gen. I mean, and so what? So, what are your guys' thoughts on annualized franchises? Does it generally hurt the franchise, or is it a good thing from a sales perspective? Is it a good sales strategy? And let's just sort of dive into the topic, kind of keep it open-ended.
Yeah, well, my opinion on annualized franchises is, I guess it's a two-sided coin. From a sales perspective, it definitely seems to be working, otherwise people wouldn't be doing it, right? But from a creative perspective, I think forcing yourself to produce something every year kind of kills the ability to really come up with something new or different, and that's kind of apparent when you look at a lot of the annualized franchises. Call of Duty, for instance, is kind of infamous for how it barely does anything different between any of the games, and maybe it'll change for Advanced Warfare. I'm not holding my breath, but I mean, if you look at games like Sonic, it's not so much that it doesn't change, it's just that the quality of the games doesn't seem up to par with franchises that are given more time to cook. But when you've got a big studio like Ubisoft, they've got so many people working on the games at the same time, so they're able to put out decently polished, I mean, sometimes they release and they're still buggy, but decently deep experiences that have some substantial changes. I don't know, generally, I'd say the craft suffers because of it, the craft of making video games, but it seems to be working and it's generating a lot of revenue, so especially Pokemon. I mean, Pokemon doesn't change a lot between games, I don't think. I don't know, you could say that the most recent one changed a lot, but
I would say that the bringing it into 3D was probably a huge step. I mean, whether or not you can make the argument like, oh, it's just the same old Pokemon to go around battling. I mean, they did change it a lot in the rest of the gameplay, you know.
And I mean, if that's producing so much revenue that you're able to sustain long development cycles for other franchises, then more power to you. Like, make Pokemon your cash cow and then let Mario be your place to iterate. I don't know.
That probably wasn't the best example. I thought you'd say Zelda or something.
Probably. Zelda is a better example. It's like a 5-year cycle now, isn't it?
Yeah. Okay, and sorry to interrupt you guys' listening pleasure, but joining us right now, just got home from work actually, and decided to chime in and become a part of this particular episode. We have Xiaber. Yay!
Yay!
Okay,
Yay.
So Xiaber has some thoughts on the annualized franchises. We actually had to just pause the podcast and brief him a little bit on what we just talked about. So, Xiaber, annualized franchises, your thoughts?
I say yes to it, except for, like, I mean, it's kind of like TV shows where eventually it needs to die out, otherwise it'll just stay crappy. But, like, starting out, they can be good.
I guess my question for you to that response is, how long does it take generally? I mean, obviously every franchise is different, but how many times will people buy the new Call of Duty? Will people buy Call of Duty forever? Because that's what it seems like right now. And I can't speak to the quality of those games because I haven't actually played all of them because I got bored of them.
Actually,
But the question is, will other people get bored of them?
actually, like my father and all of his friends are huge Call of Duty fans, and they started to stop buying them. Like they haven't bought the last two, I believe.
Really?
And I feel like that's kind of being the majority all of a sudden, where people are realizing just how the same each installment is.
That's an interesting take. That's not necessarily, it's certainly not what I've seen with my group of friends. Every time I get together with certain people, they're always talking about the next big game on PS4 or Xbox One, you know, because no one has a Wii U except for me. And they're always yeah, and they're always talking about like, oh, I can't wait for the next, you know, Call of Duty and the newest Assassin's Creed Unity looks amazing. And I'm just like, you guys are still playing those same old games. And I mean, I know you can make the same argument for Nintendo in some capacity, but I feel like there's more creativity. I feel like there's more when
Yeah.
Nintendo decides to make a remake, I feel like they do it for a reason. Like they made Tropical Freeze for a reason because they had a lot of great ideas for it. And I don't feel like that necessarily happens with Call of Duty and with I mean,
Well, for Assassin's Creed, I feel like 4 actually did innovate enough. Well, I mean, it changed the formula enough for it to be good. I'm not sure how Unity will be compared to that, though.
It's different for different franchises, really. You can't make too much of a generalization, in my opinion.
I mean, I agree with that. I mean, I definitely am guilty of generalizing a lot, especially when it comes to franchises that I have not played a lot of games from. Like I've played Assassin's Creed, I've played Call of Duty, Modern Warfare, but I mean, I haven't really gone too much farther beyond those games.
Yeah, that's true. I think we haven't really got much more to say on that.
You didn't say anything at all.
I said that little bit.
Oh, you said yeah, that's true regarding my having played Assassin's Creed and Call of Duty.
Well, I basically share my opinion with Hex, if I'm honest. So
Okay, well, yeah, I mean, Hex is basically the new Stash 19, so
Oh no.
it's the Stash 19 of this podcast anyway.
I'm sorry, I wasn't there for that. Can you just give me like a little summary of what Hex said?
Yeah, I mean, it's basically. Well, go ahead, Hex. You kind of.
Basically, for some franchises, it kind of makes it stale. For some franchises, it can be a bit more inventive between iterations. But I think it was bad for the craft, but good for sales. And if it creates a revenue stream for you to be able to create other inventive games, then go for it, I guess.
Okay.
it also like, sorry,
Go ahead, Chris.
it make games like less special as well. Because I definitely wouldn't like a Zelda every year. So
Definitely.
that's one con I will mention.
Just for your guys' information, we got Twilight Princess in 2006, Phantom Hourglass in 2007, Spirit Tracks in 2009, Skyward Sword in 2011, and A Link Between Worlds last year. Right now, we are essentially on a 2-year cycle, and I know it's console to handheld, handheld to console, but we are actually getting Zelda more often than people seem to think. And I'm not sure if you can speak to the quality decline as a, I mean, well, it's subjective, but I'm not sure if you can say the decline in quality is because of that, because it's two different teams. But I'm wondering if maybe we're just a little worn out.
Well, I mean, what was the release span like before? Like there was still handhelds and consoles.
We had Minish Cap in 2005, Wind Waker in 2003. We actually had a 3-year span from 2005 to 2007. New Zelda every year, and actually we had Four Swords Adventures in 2004 if you want to count that. But I mean, so you're right in a sense. But I don't think people really thought that the quality was declining until you looked at Twilight Princess and said, "Wow, this game could have been so much more." It just wasn't.
Yeah, I don't know if we can really blame any sort of quality decrease on the frequency, just because the frequency hasn't changed much over the years, and if anything, the perception is that it's getting longer. So, yeah, I don't think.
I agree on that.
It's because they're waiting so long between console releases now. Like it was 5 years between Twilight Princess and Skyward Sword. That's a long
What's a
time.
handheld? Do they make games that you can carry with you? That's weird.
They're for kiddies.
Oh, okay, that makes sense. Kitties and
We
doggies.
had
Yeah.
we had two of the best Zelda games between Twilight Princess and Skyward Sword, though, right?
I'd just like to say that the Minish Cap and A Link Between Worlds are right up there in the top echelon of Zelda games.
I have not
They-
played
And
Minish Cap,
Phantom
so I need to
Hourglass,
do
right?
that.
You haven't played Minish Cap?
I haven't. I think I mentioned
my
this
goodness.
before. Maybe it didn't.
Okay, you know how I said that we needed to do that backlog episode? When we do that episode, I want that game to be on your backlog officially.
Okay.
I'm not really sure if you can speak much, Spigel, since you've only played most of the games in the past 2 years.
Hey, at least I played them.
That is true.
Come on, man. Okay, that was an unnecessary shot at the host. So we'll see when we start the podcast next time who my co-hosts are.
Oh,
So consider yourself warned.
Okay.
Okay, we're gonna move on to our final point here because we got stuff to do. We got to get running here. So, and it's 3 a.m. now for Chris. So let's get this going here. We have our user question of the week, and I said of the week because we're gonna try to get back to doing this every week. This week's user question actually comes to us from a user that is currently on this podcast. So why don't you go ahead and speak up?
Okay then. I can't remember how exactly I worded it, but the question was, like, what do you think about the potential of multiplayer in Zelda? And we can also discuss the existing multiplayer in Zelda as well. So,
Well,
I got
definitely.
inspired by... sorry, you go ahead.
Well, okay, so if you guys read my threads, you know how much I talk about potential multiplayer stuff in Zelda. And I've always had this idea that maybe if you could, like, if one player could host another player in his file, so let's say I am up to temple number 3 in my file, and my friend is into temple number 5 already, so he has more items than me. I could invite him to my file, I can host him, and then he would be able to lend a hand by providing those items in scenarios that I wouldn't necessarily have them. So let's say there's a hookshot target in an early temple that you can't normally get unless you go back to that temple. But if you invite a friend who has a hookshot, then he can expedite the process of getting all these secret goodies by...
What kind of sorry to interrupt, what kind of secret goodies would you hope to find if that... It obviously could not be anything that was necessary unless you were going to go the Metroid route and give the option of backtracking, which you could do.
Yeah.
But what would it be? Would it be like a gold sculptula or type thing?
It could be something like that. Maybe heart pieces. Maybe we could even hide some really cool stuff like optional weapons back there. I don't know. I haven't thought that through all the way, but I think the general concept is kind of cool.
yeah, that kind of reminds me of the Borderlands, where you can invite people to your server, your game, and then when they leave, like, if they were actually didn't get as far as you, then, like, they could go through those things they still had to go, and then when they got to where they first came into the game, then they could skip all the stuff that they already did in your game, and then they would still have all the items and stuff from your game, too.
That's interesting.
Yeah, I like that idea. I sort of like the idea of Zelda as a whole being more open-ended. I mean, we could discuss that till the cows come home, right? But one of the things that I thought that needs to happen in Zelda U is just sort of I love the idea of co-op in a game like that, because I feel like there's so many different things that you could do. Like, you could go into a dungeon and you could fight the boss together. Kind of like, I don't want to say Highway Warriors, but like, because you don't really fight the boss together. You kind of fight, in the same battlefield, but you could legitimately go in and cooperate, and maybe some bosses, maybe you could even have some optional like co-op bosses that you need 2 people. Sort of like how you'd in Pikmin 2 or 3, you'd have to manipulate the 2 captains to sort of work towards the goal of beating the boss. And I think that would work really well in Zelda, because I think there's a lot of potential there.
That'd be
They could
interesting.
try they could try in general to up the combat in the games if it involves two people.
I feel like they're going to sort of turn the corner in terms of combat because I feel like the trailer that we saw, if from what I understand, that was all in-game footage, quote unquote. So that seemed very open-ended and like you could do a lot of things. Almost, I'm hesitant to say it, but like kind of like Skyrim, kind of like games like Fallout and games like that, where you're just sort of walking around the field and you are fighting, but it's very fluid. It's not like Ocarina of Time where you have to kind of stop and like swing your sword. You can like move around and do stuff in the field while you're fighting.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Because yeah, you're like free to explore, and you can do that with friends quite easily, I suppose.
But what about multiplayer that's existed in Zelda up to this point? Like, there's obviously Four Swords, which I guess not a lot of people experienced because who had link cables? And
I don't even have any friends, let alone link cables.
and who actually played Four Swords Adventures, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've yet to play that one.
And the other thing was with Phantom Hourglass, I don't know how, Spirit Tracks did not have multiplayer, right?
No, it did too.
Oh, it did? Okay. Well, either way, I haven't played either of those games multiplayer because I just never found anyone to play with me. You guys have played that, right? Some of you.
I
played. Yeah, I played I think there's like a little tutorial thing. So, because I also have no friends, I just played the tutorial thing, and that was
okay. What was that like, Chris? Was it anything really interesting or groundbreaking?
Well, you remember the Temple of the Ocean King or whatever? You go to the dungeon. Mm-hmm. It was basically avoiding the phantoms and getting treasure or something. Yeah. So that was kind of fun, actually.
It was basically like Four Swords.
Okay, I was under the impression it was kind of like Star Fox, where you were like sailing around and like shooting each other.
No.
Where did I get that impression from? I see. This is the problem. If I never played the game, like this is how much I know about Phantom Hourglass multiplayer.
And then there's also Tetra Trackers.
Yeah, I barely even know what that is.
That never really happened. We gotta have, who we gotta have as a guest on this podcast? We gotta have a timeline episode, and we gotta have Vegas Slayer on here.
Oh man, that would be something.
We just go for an hour, man. That'd be
way too long.
Yeah, that would be fun. It would be fun though. I mean, you can't deny that. No one knows more about the history of Zelda games and Zelda game lore, I think. And I think because I remember he actually educated me about Tetra Trackers in my playthrough thread. I was like asking a question about it, and he like had this 5-paragraph response talking about Tetra Trackers.
I don't think we'd be able to get a word in with him.
Hey, you know what? It'd be refreshing because I feel like I carry this podcast all the time, and I want you guys to talk more.
Well, it's
I try.
Me.
Hey.
Well, you are the host.
No, you guys do a good job. You really do. I don't want to feel like I'm dominating, because then there will be, like, if this podcast ever gets really big, there'll be a faction of fans that's like, Shay is such a jerk. Spiegel's such a jerk. Like, he shouldn't be, he shouldn't be taking over all the time and just like talking over everybody. Which is what I'm doing right now.
Silly goatee and sunglasses.
Yeah, we don't talk about that on this show. So go back to your corner, you measly co-host.
I'm corner.
Well,
that makes that awkward.
I guess I don't know how we got over here. So we're no longer talking about multiplayer. Does anyone have anything else to add about multiplayer in Zelda?
Well, did you guys get any like shadow links while you were playing A Link Between Worlds?
You know what, I did, but I don't think that really counts as multiplayer because you're not like.
Yeah, that's true. It's very indirect.
Yeah,
but I thought Tingle bottles were really cool in Wind Waker HD. That's a nice touch.
Yeah.
I like the Tingle Tuner better.
True, but
are you serious?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, you could be like a walking mine. It just blows everything up. It's fun. I
was going through the Forbidden Wood Forest dungeon, and I was doing the bombs, and we found out ways to exploit the bombs where we could do stuff early.
Really?
Yeah. Like, they tried really hard to make it where we couldn't, but we found a few places we could.
Huh. Well, that's interesting, I guess. But I've been playing since I've been playing Wind Waker for the book club. I've been playing, and I've actually found a couple of those bottles, and I'm like, oh, this is cool. Like, you get to see like what other people are experiencing in their games. while you're playing your game.
Yeah, sorry, Spig, I don't have any time to play that.
That kind of, but either way, that kind of connectivity is something I really want to see in Zelda U, because I think it's cool. I think it's cool to connect yourself to other people's games without necessarily like always being connected to other people's games. That's why I don't love the idea of playing a game like, I guess, No Man's Sky, I guess, is the example that I think of, where you're like constantly connected to other people. Like, I don't always want to be connected. I want to have that option, which is why I like picking up. Like, you have to go pick up the bottles; they don't just like appear.
Yeah, have you guys played Destiny at all?
My roommate has.
It's kind of interesting. I've only played it like about once for a few hours, but like it would have people over the map, and it was confusing because I wasn't sure if I should kill the people they were killing or not. But there would be the specific areas where like you would have to be by yourself unless you were like teamed with people, and that like I don't know, it probably wouldn't work, but I could see Zelda being where people could be in the overworld, but just not in the underworld areas with each other.
Yeah, I don't love the idea. I don't love the idea of my games being overpopulated with like other people. Like, yeah, I don't mind being alone. You know,
Well, knowing Nintendo, you'd probably have to be friends with them or something.
Yeah, you'd have to have their friend code. You remember back in the day when you'd have a friend code and like a code for the game too?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That was awful. Okay. I'm glad they got it right eventually.
By the
I
way,
really
guys,
hope they threw friend stuff on the Smash Bros. Wii U.
What was that? What was that, Hex?
book clubby stuff. So I'm gonna be trying to play through sections kind of early. So I'm taking a bunch of photos and I'm putting them in tingle bottles all over the dungeons. So I don't know if you're ever gonna like come across one of my tingle bottles. You might.
That'd be weird.
You might
do.
if you're in a dungeon, because I didn't see any other people putting tingle bottles in the dungeons. So yeah, maybe you'll come across one of my awesome photos.
If I do, I will definitely report it, because I think that is awesome. That'd be so cool to find, because not a lot of people are playing that game anymore because it came out last year.
Yeah.
So, that'd be cool. I'll definitely keep an eye out. And for the rest of you who are listening to this and are also playing, if you see a bottle from a me with hair,
with hair,
yeah, with hair, it's probably a Hex. So you know what hair I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Okay. You know that hair though. Okay. I think we're about done. I think we choked this subject to death. So.
I think Chris is asleep. Oh no.
What's that?
What?
Chris,
I
you're
thought
still
Chris
awake.
was asleep.
It's miraculous.
Yeah, Chris, you still there? You still there? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, so this was the Zelda Board podcast, and we really appreciate everyone who somehow managed to stay with us to the end here, because we got a little bit ranty for a while there, but.
That's the best parts.
Yeah, absolutely. Xiaber, we're glad you're able to make it back.
Yep.
In time. Well, like I said, we'll try to have an episode next week. I'm going to try to post these every Saturday, so we'll have some time to do that between now and tomorrow. And if you like this podcast, go ahead and subscribe to our page, like the video, post some comments. I don't know. Tell your friends if they like Zelda or if they like video games in general, or especially Nintendo, because we're all Nintendo guys here. We love it, and we love all the support that we get from you guys. And for everyone that's been asking for the sitcom back instead of this, screw you.
Sitcom da best though.
No, this is a much better way for me to waste my time than writing for that stupid sitcom.
Sitcom for life.
Sick. Okay. So, thank you for listening to the Zelda Board podcast. Anyone have any final thoughts?
No.
Oh, I just remembered. Do you want me to do that Gerudo Valley thing? Because everyone needs to know my elite skills.
No, that's okay. Well, unless you really want to. I think we can. We'll do a video of it later.
A video?
We're definitely going to have you back at a time when you're less tired, because you were entertaining tonight, and I think you'd be entertaining when you're less tired too. So.
Well,
we can do a video chat, and you can do Gerudo then.
Yeah, we'll do a video podcast. That'll be a disaster. I don't want people to see me.
I definitely can't play the guitar at 3:15. So.
Yeah. Okay, so for Mr. Chris, HextupleyooDOT, and Xiaber, this is spigelwii signing off. Thanks for listening to the Zelda Board podcast, and we will see you next week. Bye. Thanks.